The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to call with your host, Craig Proctor.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our coaching call today. Today we're going to be talking about how to get free PR. That's public relations. And I've got our head of IT, Adrian, with us today. Adrian, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
And Adrian, you're going to kindly slide the slides when I say next. This is a webinar. All right, well, let's go to the next slide, Adrian, and get right into this call on how we can, for no money at all, be famous in our own backyards by getting free PR. People are more likely to believe what others say about you. Well, let's talk about that. Is that true? We know that testimonials are very powerful. We always should be seeking testimonials. And some of you know that if you've got a raving fan can supply you with multiple transactions. And with our system, because you spend way less time looking for prospects because prospects are coming to you and you don't have to engage in old school prospecting methods. You don't have to spend hours and hours on the phone hunting down prospects with cold calling and door knocking. Arguably, since you spend less time finding your prospects, you should have more time to take care of them. So you should be producing raving fans. But what other things can we do to get people talking about us? How about your local newspaper? How about your local radio station? How about getting television coverage on the local TV news station? That's what we're going to talk about today, is how to become a celebrity in your marketplace. It's not going to cost you anything. We're going to show you the system that I used and coaching members have used before you. It's a proven system. We'll show you ample proof that everything I discuss here is completely easy for you to duplicate. The hardest thing to get your head around is the fact that you, yes, little old you, can get this free PR. That's the biggest hurdle we have is many of our members believe that they're not worthy of this kind of coverage. So we'll try to shatter those myths today. Next slide, please. When you're dealing with the media people are the gatekeepers to this kind of exposure. So when you're speaking to or dealing with the media people, you're either going to pass the media test or you don't. Next slide. So you got to know the rules to the game. PR is valuable for a few reasons. We've listed 3 of them here. It's cheap. Obviously, it's free. So, everybody likes that. It's fun. We're going to show you how getting free PR is fun. We'll show you a duplicatable system. We're going to show you how to do this on a weekly basis. And it gives you instant credibility. Okay, that the number one obstacle that we face today, and you've heard me say this before, is skepticism. Okay, we need to build trust. We need to build credibility with prospects in our marketplace. Next slide, please. To gain entrance into this secret media society, you have to know the rules of the game. Next slide. There are certain rules. We're going to show you those rules. You're not going to find those rules anywhere else except for right here. So on our webinar today, we're going to show you the 4 ways to get free publicity. Yep, there's 4 ways. The only 3 things you should be sending to the media. Okay, so it's real easy. 3 things. We're going to show you a template, show you how to create those 3 things that you send to the media to get this free PR. The 2 words you must never say when the media calls you. And bottom line, how you can get yourself splash free across the printed pages of your local newspaper, online, and over the airways, whether that be radio or TV. Next slide, please. So let's have a look at the 4 ways to get free publicity. Number 1, you can be controversial. Now, there's lots of people out there today that are controversial. If we look at politics, if we look at television celebrities, that's certainly one way to do it. Have a pet rock. We'll talk about what that means. Some of you aren't even old enough to remember what a pet rock is. I had to explain this to you yesterday, didn't I, Adrian? He's like, what the hell is a pet rock?
You certainly did.
Yeah. Solve a problem. that is going to be our major opportunity. We're going to show you how to get media coverage by solving problems that buyers and sellers have. And you can be a nut. You can be crazy and get coverage that way. We're not going to recommend that. Next slide, please. Let's look at each one of these in detail. Number one, being controversial. It's not hard to create this in real estate because you're dealing with the largest investment that most people ever make. There's all kinds of emotion tied up into buying and selling real estate, and commission, for example, is a hot topic. Do you think you could create some controversy around commission? Well, the first time I ran that editorial ad that I gave you folks, you know, the one that says how to sell your home without an agent, first time I ran that ad, that was controversial. It worked well. It worked extremely well. I garnered a lot of controversy, and you've got to be careful with controversy because you don't want to alienate some of the people that you're trying to woo with your marketing. Next slide, please. In fact, Adrian, when I get to the bottom of the slide, you can just go to the next slide, so that I don't have to say next slide.
Good.
See, we've created a system for this. Have a pet rock. Number two, have a pet rock. I was explaining to young Adrian yesterday what a pet rock was for you folks that are my age. You remember a pet rock. Somebody, decided that we're going to take a normal, ordinary rock. They were kind of pretty, and put it in a plastic box and charge people $5 for it, and give it a name. And here's the problem with a pet rock. Yes, that kind of took off. The guy made millions of dollars. It was stupid, but it worked. And you can't really create a pet rock. That's the deal. They just kind of happen. You can't predict it. You can't make it. The pet rock type of thing just sort of happened. So that's not really an opportunity for us. Solve a problem. Number three. The main area of opportunity we have as real estate agents is to solve problems. Okay, so this is what we're going to focus on today's call. We're going to help you solve problems that buyers and sellers have. But this shouldn't be new to you, right? Because this is what we do. All the information we offer, all the free reports that we offer, for example, in editorial ads, help our prospects, our buyers and sellers, help them solve problems. So we've listed a few problems that you might want to solve in your marketplace. How to buy a home with little or no money down, how to get instant home loan approval, how to sell your home when you're in foreclosure, how to fix your credit, how to sell your home in under 30 days, how to make sure your home inspection doesn't cripple you, 11 costly home inspection pitfalls. Remember that campaign? How to avoid the most common and costly home seller mistakes. Okay, you remember that one? 9 costly home seller mistakes. We've got all these editorial ads that you can use. Here's the good news, for the basis of getting free PR. Okay, fourth being that, we already talked about that. You're not going to do that. You know people in the media that are kind of crazy, and it might get you some short-term hype, but it's not going to do much for you long-term, so we're not going to suggest you do that. Okay, now, there's 3 things, I said, 3 things that you're going to send to the media, and here's the good news. I figured all this out for you over the last 22 years, and we're going to give you the templates, and we're going to show you how to do this, give you examples. So you don't need to go out and hire a PR firm. That's all BS. You don't need to do that. Everything you need, we're going to teach you right here. In fact, you're the best person, the most qualified person to create your own PR material, and you know what? You're also the most motivated to make sure that it happens. So what are these 3 things you need? You need a press release. Okay, you've heard about a press release before. You know about that. You're going to need a bio sheet. That's a little bit of information about you and why people should listen to you, and a Q&A sheet. And we'll tell you why this is important, this Q&A sheet, in a minute. Start with the press release. Okay, now if you go to our coaching website, cpcoaching.net, and you go to the call decks, don't do this now. Just write it down because I want you paying attention to the webinar. But all this stuff is posted. Okay, in the attachments on the call deck. And what call are we on here today, Adrian? Do you remember?
I believe it's number 17.
Call 17. So you go to call decks. What tab is call decks on?
Under resources, there be one called call decks.
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 down. So along the base bar at the top, you put your mouse on resources, click on call decks, number 17. Call deck 17 is about getting free PR. You'll see everything we talked about, everything that I'm going to show you here will be there. So don't worry about it. Don't go there now. Just pay attention to what we're talking about. So on the left, is the template that you'll find on the website. Okay, that's there. Believe me, it's there. And this is how you're going to create your press release. It should only be one page. Okay, not 2 or 3 pages. People are busy today, including the media people. 1 page only. Plain white paper, not letterhead, especially not letterhead, which has got a big picture of you, which screams me, me, me. Never single spaced. You always double space. Remember, people are lazy. Media people too. I'm going to show you how we're basically going to do the work of the media people, right? If you agree that people are generally lazy, the media people are no different. They've got a big job every day. Think about it. Think about the people at daily newspaper. They've got to fill their newspaper with interesting stuff every day. That's hard to do. So we're going to do their work for them. We're going to do all their work for them. So we're going to make them covering you easy. So, okay, top left-hand corner. Everybody see that? It says for immediate release or some kind of time qualifier. Okay, so it might want to say, it might want to say release before the 4th of July. Okay, or release before Labor Day. Now, you'll see it says for further information, contact your first name and your last name. Okay, never a company name. Okay, that's going to be in the top right-hand corner. Maybe you can just move that mouse out of the way there, Adrian. That's it. See that? You always, of course, want to have your contact information on every page of everything you send out in case the pieces get separated. But then you're going to have a killer headline. Let's go to the next page. Killer headline. So where it says killer headline, you're going to put your killer headline. And then you'll notice that the body copy falls into 3 distinct sections. In 3 sentences or less, I want you to tell at the very top, underneath the headline, underneath your killer headline, the essence of your story. What's the main idea of your press release? Below that, okay, there's more space there for you to add your credentials and a quote from you telling them why they should listen to you, why you're qualified to talk about this issue. Okay, now below that, there's the call to action. Does everyone know what the call to action? You got to tell people in your advertising and in your press release what it is you want them to do and who you are, okay? Make sure the media knows what you want. At the very bottom of the press release, you should have 3 little number signs or pound signs. What do they call them a pound sign, Adrian? Looks like a number sign.
Not a clue.
Okay, well, Google that. Look that up for me.
I will.
Pound signs should be centered at the bottom of the page at the end of your press release. And this is a symbol to the media people that there's no more copy, that the press release is finished. It's also a symbol, guess what, that you know what you're talking about. You know the rules of the game. You're talking in their language. Okay, so that was the press release. Now we move on to the bio sheet. The bio sheet should be 1 page only. It's single-spaced. Where the press release is double-spaced, this is single-spaced. As I said a few minutes ago, put your phone number, your contact info on everything that you send to the media people in case stuff gets separated. Make your bio focused on the topic you're dealing with. If the PR you're trying to get is about your real estate business, then your self-description should deal only with points which relate to your real estate business. So, if you're a good golfer or you like to go skydiving, that has no place in your press release, okay? It's only points that are relevant to your real estate business. Also, no use spouting off about all your courses and your designations. Nobody, cares. They don't. And the public really doesn't know what all that stuff means. I mean, you may think you're impressing them with CRS and all that stuff, but, in general, they don't care and they don't even know what that all means. Just tell them why you're qualified to talk about that issue. And that leaves us with the third and final piece that you need, which is a Q&A sheet. Okay, now, we're actually going to give the media people the questions they're going to ask us in the interview. I mean, how good is that? We're following the rules of their game. We've got a killer press release. We've got a bio prepared, and we've even done the media people's work. We've even created a Q&A sheet. We're giving them the questions that they should ask us. The media people rarely get this. But here's why it's important. It's important, as I said, to make the media people's job easy, but doesn't it make your job easy? Doesn't it make you and I kind of look like a superstar? Do you think you might know the answers to the questions the media people are going to ask you in the interview if you're the person that created the questions? Pretty good idea, isn't it? So the easier we make this for the media people, because they're lazy, the easier we make it, the more of their work we do for them. The number one thing that happens is we go to the top of their pile. We actually get covered. We get the free PR, and you're going to look like a superstar when they ask you the questions that you've created. They're your questions. The first question should be kind of a hardball question, like, what makes you so great? What makes you an authority on this topic? And then you can ask softer questions, but you can look at some of the examples we've got on the coaching site, and this is easy. Is everybody understanding how easy this is? Anybody, any one of you can get free PR, because guess what? It's not about you. It's about helping people with problems, buyers and sellers with problems they have every single day. And the price tag, remember? Free. Okay, better than any advertising you and I could pay for, because we're not paying for this. This is what somebody else is saying about you and I, like a testimonial, but it's very impressive when the local newspaper, television station, radio station, when they start to cover you. And don't limit yourself to just local media, some state or national coverage. It's very impressive. Next slide. Who cares style of writing? When you're writing your press release, when you're writing your bio, you should have a friend or a relative read it over and really help you out, because you can't be talking about yourself. We read everything and use this who cares style of writing. If it's not important to other people, if it's just important to you, it's not going to work that well. So remember, you've only got one page, double spaced. You've got to make every word count with your press release. Your press release must be interesting to the average consumer who, they operate with their own self-interest. They don't care about you or anybody else. I shouldn't say that, sounds kind of harsh, but you get the point. Remember, you're not writing to yourself. You're writing to the masses out there who don't know you and don't particularly care about you. Next slide. So we're going to talk about media torture. How do we get them to pay attention to your press release? It's not like you're the only one trying to get free PR. There's going to be other press releases sent into the newspaper, radio station, television station every day. So how does yours go to the top of the pile? We're going to use something called media torture. The media will respond to your press release in a couple of ways, assuming it doesn't get overlooked altogether. They're either going to say, this looks pretty interesting, or they're going to toss it in the garbage can because it doesn't seem interesting. Now, if you're ever at a grocery store, you're walking up to the cash, you see all those magazines, and a magazine says, 7 sure fire signs your spouse is cheating on you. Well, if you kind of thought your spouse might be cheating on you, you might pick up that magazine and read it. But that's an example of they're torturing you to, what are the 7 signs. So we're going to do the same thing. For example, you might want to say in your press release that the 2 words home sellers must never say to a prospective buyer, or it will completely ruin the chances of ever selling their home to those buyers. Now, I just made that up. I don't know if there's 2 words, but you get the point. How to get these press releases out to the media? Now, if you're just going to send out 5 to 10 media outlets locally, you could just email them or fax them yourself. Well, who do you fax them to? How do you get their email addresses? Adrian and I, we looked into this yesterday. We looked into an easy way for you to access one singular place where you can find the contact people, the people you should be contacting, and their contact information for newspapers, radio stations, and television stations all over the country. So all you need to do is go to Google and you type in Gebbies or Bacons. Do we have that there in the next slide, Adrian? maybe?
Let's take a look. I don't know
I
if
thought
we
we
put
did.
it. It's on the call deck for sure.
Okay. Gebbies, Gebbies, or Bacon's, just, Bacon's.
I think you have to search like
Bacon's Press or Gebbies Press.
Gebbies Media Release or
Media Release, yeah. Okay, so Gebbies, it's on the coaching site. But we did check that out. So that's pretty cool. We can go to one place online and we can find, if I'm here in Toronto and I want to find who's the contact person at the Toronto Star, I just go online to Bacon's or Gebbies and I can access that stuff. Let's go back again. Media torture. Okay, we did that one. Next. All right. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're only going to fax or email the one-page press release first. Okay, do not send the bio sheet or the Q&A sheet until they ask you. If you're asked to send or mail additional materials, make sure you always send a picture of yourself. You should send out regular press releases. Okay, you don't have to do this, right? You could write a bunch of press releases. The bio is always going to be the same, so the press release and the Q&A sheet would have to change. But you can have an assistant do this once a week. You just got a bunch of them created, and once a week or even once a month, you just send out these press releases to all the local radio stations, television stations, newspapers, and you've created a little system. It just happens without you. When I pause, that means next. I'm training you, Adrian.
Sounds good.
What's your story? What's your story going to be? When determining what your story will be, consider your audience. What would interest them? What would appeal to their self-interest? Remember, it's not about you, it's about them. Of course, these are the same rules we apply to our direct response advertising. Ask yourself, how will this affect my desired audience? How can I make this appealing to them? How can I appeal to their self-interest? Next. A great way to do this is to leverage off a current hot story or bridge off a current hot story. Why am I stuttering? A current hot story. For example, if a current hot topic were education cuts in your marketplace, think about what implications that would have on real estate in your town. Education often affects who moves in and out of a certain area. So you might want to start off your press release by referencing the local education cuts and then go on to explain how this could cause real estate to plummet in your town. This will interest people who live in your town, and if you can help them solve this problem or learn about this problem, you become someone they want to listen to. Okay, you suddenly have authority, and there's a very positive rub-off to this stance. It's like gold. People see you as the go-to person for information. Don't ever say these two words, okay? So when your press release causes the media people to call you and they want more information, they're going to ask you, hey, is there anything else you can send us? The correct answer is yes. I can send you my bio sheet, my Q&A sheet, right? You already have those prepared. If you do this, you pass the test to the media people. You've demonstrated you know the rules of the game. You know what you're doing. However, next slide. If you say, well, what do you mean? When they say, have you got anything else to send us, you fail the test and you look like you don't know what you're doing. When you send your press release out, it should create instant activity. If it doesn't, it just means it didn't work. So, don't bother following up with everybody. All you're going to do is irritate the media people. We're trying to woo the media people. We don't want to irritate them. Just try a different press release. Try again and again until you get one that works. Let's talk about the interview now. First thing they're going to do is they're going to chat you up a little bit to see how intelligent you are, see if you're, sane and you're credible or you're kind of nutty. Now, if they sense something they don't like, they're probably going to say something like this. Great, that sounds wonderful. We'll call you later to set up the interview, and you know what that means. It means you failed the test, bye-bye, you'll never hear from them again. Unless it's television, you don't need to go to their studio or building for an interview. It can be done all over the telephone. Important. See, I put important there in bold. to remind myself this is important. Always make sure they let you put in your contact information. Otherwise, don't do the interview. Okay, it's not going to do you any good. You can do a wonderful get a wonderful PR. You can be written up in the local newspaper on the front page, but they don't allow you to put your contact information in. It's not going to do you much good if people don't know who you are, how to reach you. Now, if you do a good interview, you can start. You're going to position yourself to be the go-to person, someone that they think about for related information. So let's say they call you and they want to know something about interest rates or mortgages. If you know something about it, you can give them credible answers. You're going to help them. If not, at least refer them to, your mortgage broker or somebody that can speak to them credibly. Don't try to wing it. You don't want to blow it, because if you can refer them to somebody that's knowledgeable on that topic, if it's not something within your comfort zone, you still are positioned as the go-to person. How do you follow up the interview? You send your media contacts a thank you note. Boy, that's pretty rare today. Actually writing, not typing, not emailing, like a handwritten thank you note. Thank you for the interview you did today about whatever. I hope I was able to give you the information you were after. If you ever need anything else, please give me a call. And this, of course, should be on your letterhead. Okay, this should be on your letterhead, never your press release. Again, if nothing happens, if you don't hear back after you send out your press releases, it could be a couple things. Number one, your press release just wasn't interesting. Could be that, right? It's no one else's fault. You just didn't catch the interest with your story, so try a different story. Or your fax or email, for whatever reason, didn't arrive. They didn't see it. If you're sending out a broadcast fax, you're going to seed the list with your phone number, and you wouldn't get the fax either, so you'll know that the fax didn't go out. Or what is also possible is you get wiped out by like a bigger story. Something happens, it's big in the news that day, and you get wiped out, and so does everybody else's smaller stories. So you got to wait for that big story to pass by and then just try again. Think big. I like to think big with this, and I'm going to show you how by thinking big, I got national PR. And I show you how other members got, state and national PR. That's the number one thing with this particular topic is most of you don't believe you can get it. It's kind of like when we first talked to you about getting a transaction fee on both the listing side and the buyer side. The hard part isn't getting it. The hard part's getting you to think that you can get it so you go and actually try it. So think big. Don't confine yourself to your own local small town. You start there, but you don't confine yourself to your little marketplace. National exposure is very impressive. As Donald Trump famously said, if you have to think anyway, you might as well think big. So here's Bob Zachmar. He's in Tucson. He sends out a press release. You folks know Bob Zachmar is one of our coaches now. He's been with my system for over a decade. As the real estate market totters, he knows what buyers want. So he's talking to sellers about, it's possible to sell your home. You just have to understand what it is that buyers want and give them that. Next slide. Here is a press release that Bob sent out when we gave him the Quantum Leap Award. We gave him the Quantum Leap Real Estate Success Award at one of our super conferences. He sent out a press release, and he got covered on the local radio station and television station in Tucson, Arizona. Next. Okay, this press release was written about Bob's tour of homes. Okay, how he's helping buyers and sellers by creating this Sunday tour of homes. And I won't read the whole thing. It's on, all this stuff, remember, is on the coaching site, so you can look at it later. But just want to give you some social proof that this is something that our members and our coaches are successfully doing, and it's working. Next. Okay, so here's a press release that I sent out. This is in the local New Market paper. So you start locally, right? That makes sense. You start in a small local paper. World's top salesperson, Craig Proctor, leads World Remax sales for a second time. Okay. So you might be thinking, well, I can't duplicate that. I'm not the world's top salesperson for my franchise. Some of you do have an impressive track record, and you can talk about that. But we're going to show you how, just by focusing on what it is that buyers and sellers want and their needs, that most of my press releases were really garnered that way. Next. For example, this one. Meet Craig Proctor, King of Canada's Real Estate Agent. So this article focuses on what I'm doing to help buyers and sellers. Like, why am I selling more real estate than any other real estate agent in Canada? How is this possible? What am I doing so different to attract buyers and sellers? Next. And this is the front page of the Toronto Star, front page of the business section, Toronto Star. Toronto, population of about 3 million people. The selling machine. So they're talking about all these innovative programs that we offer, from the guaranteed sale program to the Sunday tour of homes to the team concept, all the unique things that we're doing to help buyers and sellers and help set myself apart from all the other agents here in Toronto. Next. Okay, we've talked about this before at the Super Conference. This was my toll-free calling to Toronto program, where prospects could call into the 939 free number. They listened to a 10 or 15 second commercial from me. Then they entered their Toronto number and they could talk for as long as they wanted. And the best way to promote that was with free PR. So go to the next slide. And this was a press release that I sent to the Toronto Star. Realtor picks up the long distance tab for area realtors. So this one was pretty easy, right? What problem was I solving? I live in the small town of Newmarket, about 30 miles north of Toronto. It's a bedroom community. Pretty much everyone in my town works in Toronto. Their friends or relatives in Toronto, but they had huge long-distance bills. So I'm helping alleviate that problem. You call into my number. You live in Newmarket. You call into my phone number. You never pay long distance again. At the same time, I'm promoting my business, and I'm creating goodwill, some reciprocity. People in Toronto, by the way, could also, it was reverse calling. They could call the same number and speak to their friends and relatives in Newmarket. Next. It worked so well. I had to expand the number of lines because people were calling in and starting to get busy signals. There was just the structure couldn't handle the number of calls. So when I invested in more phone lines through the reseller, it gave us a good excuse to send out another press release that we've now expanded this long-distance program. Next. Every Christmas, it's my son and I, we donated toys to the Salvation Army. So that's a picture of us at Christmas time donating all these toys, and here's the end result of that. We get written up. We sent out a press release. So we're helping the local community. We're giving back to the community, and we're being recognized for that. And that's it on getting free PR. So we're going to take some questions now. Adrian, I want to thank you for your help here today.
No problem.
All of this great information is on the coaching website. In fact, let's go to the coaching website right now, Adrian, and we'll show everybody how to get on there and how to access everything that we talked about here today. Adrian's going to go to resources, so click on resources.
Second one in. Second item in the list, call decks.
All right, click on that.
And then down to the bottom, call number 17, public relations.
Perfect.
And then you'll get all the information we talked about, as well as the examples and things like that that Craig referenced.
Okay, yeah. So those are the press. Go under attachments there. Okay, so those are the press releases from Bob Zachmar. So Tour of Homes press release, the Quantum Leap Award press release, his article in the Arizona Daily Star. The templates are all there. We'll go to those in a minute. And then all of my, some examples of some of the free PR I've got. It says Craig's PR results. But go to PR template and examples. We're going to open that up and show everybody how easy this is. So there's your template. That's all you've got to do is print that off of the coaching website. And then I've given you some examples You can just use them as they are if you want, but I've given you some examples rather than just the blank template. Here's the blank template, but this is what it looks like when it's filled in. Here's a press release. Here's the Q&A sheet. Scroll down a bit. Here's another one, new home buyer program. Buy a home with no money down or super low down payments. There's the press release. And then there's the corresponding Q&A sheet. There should be one more, I think. Okay, costly home seller mistakes, common but avoidable. There's the press release. You scroll down a bit. There's the Q&A sheet. And where was my bio? At the top, or is it below?
Right here, at the bottom.
There's my bio. Okay, so you're going to create your press release from the blank template, but using the press release examples that we have here. And then based on your press release, you're going to create the Q&A sheet. You're going to create the questions that the media people are going to ask you. Why are we doing this? Because they're lazy and we're doing their work for them. It makes it easier for them to say, hey, I think I'm going to call this realtor. They know what they're doing. They know the rules of the game. They've done all the work. And then when they ask you the questions, of course, you're going to be pretty prepared because you're the person that wrote the questions. They're your questions. And the bio, of course, looking at my bio probably won't help you too much. You're going to write your own bio. And that should be single-spaced on one page. All right, Andrea, did we conjure up any questions or comments?
Yes, sir, we did. We have Craig Coleman. Please go ahead.
Morning, Craig. How are you?
Craig, how's Craig?
I'm surviving. I've got 2 new listings, and that's relates to my question this morning. Thank you for the information into a press release. Or is that possible, or is that something you suggest?
Well, you can't focus on, here's the thing with press releases. We can't really focus on ourselves or our listings. The opportunity here, just to be clear, is to solve a problem that buyers and sellers have in your marketplace.
Okay.
So what is it that's, the leading concerns or problems of buyers and sellers in your community right now?
It's inventory, the lack of homes for sale.
Then that's what your press release is about.
I gotcha.
Why is that a problem? You're going to talk about the problem, and you can provide good stats, right? You could go to your MLS. You could say, last year this time, we had X amount of inventory and X amount of buyers. Today, we've got, half of that or a quarter of that.
Right.
However, we've got, 3 times as many buyers as we had last year. So these are the facts, and you're going to use specific numbers because people want specifics. And here's the problem that's causing.
Gotcha.
That's an excellent, excellent press release.
Okay. Then I'll just try and copy as much as I can from you. It seems like it's pretty much all here. Thank you.
If you want to know why this is so great, nobody else does it. How many realtors in your marketplace, first of all, even understand the rules of the media? Number one, they know the rules of the game. And number two, they're going to do all the work for the media people. And they even understand this who cares style of writing. You see, when you're writing your press release, you write it out, have somebody else look at it, a friend, a relative, family member look at it and point out to you, is there any who cares stuff in here? Because that's how, when you grab the newspaper, you don't read the entire newspaper. First thing you're going to do, you're going to go to certain sections of the newspaper, right? And you're only, even in those sections that you stop and care to read, your eye is going to be attracted only to the headlines that appeal to you. If the headline doesn't appeal to you, you're not even reading the article.
Most likely,
okay?
You're right.
And the minute, if you start reading the article and the article starts to bore you, boom, you're gone. I mean, it's even worse with television because we have a remote in our hand.
Yeah.
The minute that, something bores you, boom, you're on a different station.
Yes. Well, I understand. Yeah, I love it. There are no realtors. I've never seen this, and I live in Los Angeles. I have never seen this in the local papers nor the LA Times, anything like this.
Yeah, well, that's why we're covering. I mean, look, the stuff that we do in this program is just not being taught to real estate agents, whether it's our unique selling propositions, our performance guarantees, like the guaranteed sale program, whether it's, just the way we organize our teams, our aggressive lead generation systems. Pretty much everything we teach you is just not, in the normal world of real estate. And I can tell you this, all the successes I've ever had in real estate are from doing what everyone else does not do.
Can I give you a little success story? I know you like to hear
Sure.
it.
We love success stories. I can't get enough of them.
It doesn't necessarily have to do with media outlets. It has to do with your guaranteed performance program.
Yep, shoot.
I just got a listing of last week, Friday. I went in with the listing presentation with the whole Craig Proctor listing presentation. I edited it somewhat, and I offered the gentleman $1,000 a performance guarantee if we agreed on a price. We couldn't agree on a listing price to begin the listing with. So I told him, I'm sorry, I have to withdraw my offer. And the man said, the seller said to me, I am so impressed that you went out, you put your neck out there to guarantee me money back at the close of escrow to sell my house, that I'm going to give you the listing anyway. So
of course, you're showing accountability that no one else he talks to was able to demonstrate.
Absolutely right. I didn't even have to perform. I don't even have the performance guarantee in effect.
Okay, Craig, understand what you just explained to me. That's a press release. Really? Imagine this in the front page of the LA Times. That would be impressive. Maybe not the front page, but imagine getting this kind of coverage. Local realtor guarantees to sell your home at agreed price, or he pays you $1,000 cash.
I mean, that's too powerful. I have to grasp that. It takes me back in my chair for a second. It is so powerful. You're absolutely right.
I ran a press release once. I don't know if it's on the coaching side. It said, local agent guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it. That was a guaranteed sale program. It was a press release. That was the headline.
Yeah, I hear you. That's so powerful. Unbelievably powerful. People would have to read that.
What I would like everyone to do, I want to challenge you all to actually do something with this information, because, too many times, Craig, I know you can, we cover so many great topics here, but I don't want to entertain you folks. I want you actually to go do something with this information. So, my advice to everybody here is that do something with this. Write a press release. Send it to your coach. Have them look at it, give you any advice. As I mentioned earlier, have your friends and relatives look at the press release and start sending it out. I mean, what's your downside here? You might put a half an hour, maybe an hour into this project. You create a bunch of these over time, and you have an assistant send these out, fax them out to the contact people in your local media. Make a little system out of this, just like you should have a system to get testimonials. I mean, I had Tammy Johnson in my office every time, Craig, every time we sold a home, as soon as the conditions were removed on a listing, the conditions were removed, and now the transaction was firm. Not on closing, but as soon as the conditions were, if it was conditional on financing or the sale of another home, as soon as the conditions were removed, I had a system in my office where Tammy Johnson, our customer service manager, would call the seller and get a testimonial. We'd send a survey out, get a good testimonial, and then we would actually use those testimonials. So, the idea is you start with the concept here, you get it working, you systemize it, and once it's sort of perfected, you delegate that system to somebody else. So it continually happens without you even having to think about it. And that's what I was able to do with getting free PR, is create the system, perfect the system, and then delegate the system.
Yes, I'm trying my best. I definitely need a technology assistant. That's my downfall, is the computers. But I'm working on it. I mean, I believe in everything you say, and it's sometimes my head's a little hard, but sometimes I see the light immediately like this, and it's just a great thing to, for no dollars, this is a no-brainer. I mean, it's very powerful stuff.
Well, remember the ad the article I showed you from the Toronto Star? First
Yes.
of all, I couldn't even buy the front page of the business section of the Toronto Star. I mean, you can't, I don't know what an ad would cost in the Toronto Star, probably $20,000 for a full-page ad. They certainly wouldn't sell you the front page. And, you can't buy that kind of advertising. Plus, even if I did buy a full page in the Toronto Star, just not as effective, me talking about my business, as having the Toronto Star talking about Craig Proctor. He's the selling machine, or he's the king of Canada's real estate agents. I mean, it's a very positive rub off. And of course, you want to use all of this in your marketing. I use it in my listing presentation. And when I go out and I meet with a seller, of course, this is the information in my pre-listing package or leave behind materials. I'm going to have copies of all this great free PR. So you can imagine the seller in my presentation looking at what the Ottawa Citizen had to say, or the Toronto Star, or the Globe and Mail, which is Canada's national newspaper. It's like USA Today in the States. So as you start to accumulate this, it's very impressive. Your clients start to look at this in the buyer presentations and seller presentations and go, wow, this realtor's got some credentials.
Okay, I understand that. I see the light as well. I've just printed the info that is on this press release page, like the question and answer sheet and your bio sheet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just for some nuts and bolts questions, my friend. So the killer headline sheet we use every time, no matter what the story is, correct?
Yeah, that's your press release. The press release has to have a killer headline, or if it doesn't have an interesting, I like to call it a killer headline, I'm not going to read it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? So your copy, your story could be intriguing, but it's the headline on the press release that's going to grab the attention of the media people.
Understood. Then the second page is how to sell your home yourself. That's the press release that you're sending that particular.
That's an example of I did one for you. See, I gave you the blank template, but then I actually gave you some examples of real press releases that I've used in the past.
Okay, so I'm writing template page. Gotcha. Okay. And then
I'm saying, here's how you do it, but I'm making it so easy for you to do. I'm giving you a template. All you got to do is look at my examples, and then fill in the blanks on the template.
Yes, and then the Q&A sheet to that is how do you come up with the questions based on your.
Let me give you a little secret. Let me give you a little secret here, Craig.
Okay.
Why don't you write down the questions first?
Oh.
Okay, think about this. We've identified a problem in your marketplace, which is huge lack of inventory. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So what kind of problems has that created? You write those questions.
I gotcha. How many questions is enough questions?
3 or 4.
Okay.
3 or 4 questions. That's all you need. You just demonstrated to the media people that I know the rules of the game. I'm doing your work for you, and they've got to be good questions. So let's think of a good question. If the press release is about the fact that there's a huge shortage of inventory right now, what would a question that the public in your marketplace might have?
Well, what is the cause? I mean, that would be my first question. What caused?
Exactly. That's a very good question. What is going on here? How about this? Here's how do we go from a year ago a market where there was all kinds of inventory to now an actual shortage of inventory? How did this happen? What's the extent of this? What caused this?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it is kind of crazy, isn't it? Here we are a year ago. A year ago, you can't give away a house. Today, you can't find one.
Exactly.
Right. So what caused this? This is a good story. All right. Now, What does it? Okay, how about this? Here's another question. What does this mean to buyers and sellers?
And that's what I'm writing down. That would be my next question.
What does this? Okay. So what's the end result? What does this mean? Why is this important? If I'm a seller, why is this important? Well, this might be a great time to get your home on the market. If I'm a buyer, why is this? What is this telling me? What's going to happen? Is this shortage going to continue? Is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better?
What does this mean? No, said question 2, I'm right. What does this mean to sellers? Question 3, I think, should be, what does this mean to buyers?
You're on a roll. So, you've got a great story. I use an example on the call here, on the webinar here today about education cuts. If there were education cuts in your community, my argument would be, well, that could affect who moves into the area and who doesn't, and it could affect real estate prices. That would be, you're educating people on something they may or may not even know about. Now, how's that going to affect me? What's that mean? What caused this? Those are the kinds of questions that are going to go into your press release.
You got one more killer question for me about inventory? We've got, how did we go from a lot of inventory to low inventory? What does this mean to both sellers? What does this mean to buyers? And 4, to wrap up the question, the 3 questions should be, I'm thinking something like, where is the market going?
Yep, you could do it. You could have, a forecast, right? It could be, and where, what does the market, what is the market going to look like, 6 months from now or a year from now?
Okay.
Yeah, how about this? Here's another good question. Is this temporary?
I like
is this temporary? Are we going to see a flood of shadow inventory come on the market and the market's going to crash again?
Yes, this is temporary or not.
Wouldn't that be a concern for buyers? Concern for buyers might be, okay, what's happened? You're in LA, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the prices have gone way up?
Not way up, but
they've gone up. They've gone up. But what percentage-wise, how much have prices gone up so far this year?
Oh, I'd say 3 to 5% year over month.
All right. I was talking to Lester Cox. He said in Phoenix, the prices are up like 30% in the first half of the year. So if I'm a buyer, a question I might have is, okay, if I buy now, am I going to be sorry because of the price is going to, crash again in 6 months?
Right.
Or is this the beginning of something bigger? I could have bought for 5% less, 6 months ago, but I might be paying 5%, another 5% more next year this time.
That's right. Now, where do you get this information? Can you give me an idea of where the sources are for this info, for the answers to these questions?
Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to your local MLS.
Yes, sir.
You can go to the National Association of Realtors. They have forecasts. And you can quote these people. Like, it's impressive, right? Right. Well, I don't have a crystal ball. However, the chief economist of NAR, this is what he said on April the 10th.
Okay, so NAR and CAR, gotcha. California Association of Realtors.
Absolutely. Go to CAR, go to NAR, Google it. CAR and NAR, you probably get everything you need right there.
Okay, go to CAR first?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, go to your State Real Estate Association first, but you can also go to NAR to give people a national outlook.
And they'll give me specifics for LA area, right?
Yeah, and you know what? If you just go to the CAR site, it might give you a heads up on what some of the burning issues are, because guess what? That's what they're talking about. They're talking about what is important to the public on their sites.
Yes.
So you can steal some of their thunder.
Fantastic. I love this. I love free, first of all. I'm very German. We love free. And second of all, it's so powerful. If I just put words on paper the correct way, I should create something very powerful, because nobody's doing it here. Even the top mega agents in the Hollywood Hills area or the Beverly Hills area, I've never seen this, ever seen this.
Okay, now, what happens when you get on a roll with this is you become the go-to person. So about a couple years into this of getting sending up press releases and getting coverage, all of a sudden they're calling me on a regular basis. If they raise the interest rates, they're coming in and talking to me. How's this going to affect real estate? They lower the interest rates. How's this going to affect real estate? Whenever there's any news story about new construction, about real estate, about anything, I become the go-to guy. And they would call me. We have a local television station here. They would call me and they would say, look, can we drop by, send one of our reporters to drop by this afternoon? Take about 15 minutes. And it's just a short clip, right? So they come by my office, or sometimes they'd even come by my home. And, I might have to jump into a suit and go out and do a short a couple minutes of interview that's on the local news that night.
Sure, I better make sure the grass is cut, right?
Yes. All right, Craig, I hope that helps.
It helps immensely. Thank you. Out of all the phone calls, this is 17 that I've listened to you, besides the ads to put in the newspaper. This, and please don't get me wrong, they're all very informative. This is the second most powerful thing for me. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thanks. Adrian and I worked hard on this yesterday, didn't we, Adrian?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so, we always have this content here, but I think we did a pretty good webinar, sort of tells the story in an easy way, and hopefully what we really want to pass on to all of you is all of you can do this. I'm going to repeat this again. The only thing that will hold you back from doing it is your belief system. Okay, some of our members just have a hard time thinking that they're worthy of this kind of coverage. Remember, it's not about you. It's like when you run an editorial ad, it's not about you. It's about solving problems that buyers and sellers have. That's the opportunity every single one of you have, regardless whether you're a new agent, you're an experienced agent, you sell gazillions of homes a year, or not many at all. It doesn't matter. It's not about you. Okay, it's about positioning you as the go-to source, the information provider. Now, if you're successfully doing that, of course it's going to help your real estate business. It's going to give you that exposure and give you that credibility amongst buyers and sellers in your local marketplace. Let's go back to Andrea. We'll see if there's any other questions or comments.
Yes, sir. We have Lori Luckfield. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question. There are like several newspapers in my area. So when I do a press release, should I just send them out to all the major newspapers?
Why not?
And is it a problem, like say the story gets printed twice? Let's just say, for instance, I end up getting 2 different interviews. Then would that kind of create like an issue between like rival newspapers?
No.
Or
look at when these PR, let's say you hired a PR firm, they would first of all charge you thousands of dollars to do probably a worse job than what we're telling you to do right now, and they would send it out to everybody. Look, we're lucky to get PR once. Like you might have to send out, a dozen press releases, maybe dozens to get covered. The chances of you getting on the front page of 2 competing newspapers are slim, but you may be covered. I mean, if you look in your local papers today, there will be stories that will be in the same story, told a little differently in each one of those publications.
okay. And then should I also mail a copy of the press release to the person, or just email or fax is probably the easiest?
Yeah, when you go online to Gebby's Media or Bacon's, just like Bacon, B-A-C-O-N-S, Bacon's Media, and you look up your city, your town, and it'll give you all the publications, radio stations, television stations. It'll give you the name of the contact person and the best way to contact them.
Oh, it's Bacon's Media, and what's the other one?
Gebby's, G-E-B-B-I-E-S.
I've got it on the...
there's the Gebby.
Oh.
No S, sorry, Gebby press release.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, I see. Gebby, okay.
And pull up Bacon's. Is it Bacon or Bacon's? Why am I sticking an S on everything? Bacon?
Bacon's Media, Bacon's
Maybe
Media.
it's Bacon's.
Take a look. They changed the name.
Right there. Yeah, I think they got bought out, but it's the same place. Okay, it's now Cision. It says Bacon's, see below, Bacon's Media Directories, the industry's most cost-effective media intelligence solution.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
So, what's great about this is they tell you exactly who to contact. You look up your newspaper, and it'll tell you who the contact person is. And, with this person, you fax them or you email them or you mail them. It wouldn't be mail, though, because remember, the media people this is time sensitive, right? How long is it going to take to get something in the mail?
Right.
Their method of receiving information will most likely be email or fax.
Okay.
So, Lori, I hope you attack this idea.
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the call here today. Let's go back to Andrea. We'll see who's next.
Oh, we have Craig again, if you'd like to take his
All right.
his follow-up.
Craig is back.
Go ahead.
The last caller just stirred up one last question, Craig. That is, how many times a year would you do this?
Oh, I think you need to do it at least once a month, but I'm recommending have a little system that you can make this happen weekly.
Okay. Okay, and there's no guarantees that they're going to pick you up, so you got to keep going until they get back to you, correct?
Yeah, if they don't get back to you, it's a couple of things. Number one, they didn't like your press release. It wasn't interesting. Okay. How about number two? For whatever reason, they didn't get it. The person that was supposed to see it didn't get it. The fax didn't get delivered. The email went into their spam, whatever. Or number three, you got wiped out by some big story.
Understood.
In LA, that happens, right? Some big story in the news, and that's what's on the front page everywhere, and other stories get pushed to the side.
How usually do they contact you if they do want to contact you?
Oh, you're going to know right away. If you send the press release out today, you're going to hear today.
Okay, if it gets to the right person.
Don't bother sitting by the phone. If you send it out today, it's like, when you run one of my ads that we've given you, that's what we call this direct response. When you run an ad today, you run it on Craigslist, you run it in the local paper, the daily paper, we know that the daily paper is going to be in the garbage tomorrow, right? So when you run a direct response ad, it either works right away or it doesn't.
Right.
Same deal here. You're going to know, if you send it out in the morning, you're going to know later that day whether it worked or not. And if it didn't, my advice is don't follow up with them, don't bug them, don't irritate the people you're trying to woo.
Gotcha.
Just try again with a different press release.
And just to reiterate, that's Bacon's with an S, Media Directory.
Correct.
And
just Google it like Adrian did here, and you'll find it.
Yes, sir. And then there's Gebby, Gebbie press release.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up today. Again, I want to thank Adrian for doing a great job in our webinar here today. Thank you, Adrian.
You're very welcome.
And I want to thank our wonderful operator, as always, Andrea, for doing a great job. Andrea, thanks for everything you do for us.
My pleasure.
And everyone, have a great day. I hope you got some great ideas here today. But as I said earlier, most of all, I hope you go out there and you implement this because it really is a great way to help you in your real estate business. And that's what we try to do on each one of our coaching calls. So take care. We'll talk to everyone then.